Welcome guys to my Lost Ark mini class guide. Today we're going to be talking about the Asura Breaker. Asura Breaker is a front attacker which utilizes full crit build, so you're going to always see a lot of crits. The gameplay style is very simple. You're going to alternate between yellow skills and either green or blue skills to build your Asura meter. Once you activate this meter, you're going to do a ton of punches to decimate the enemy, which has to be hit on the head attack. So yes, this is a front attacker class which is a lot harder, but of course it's going to give us more power in return. Let's go into how to build your Asura Breaker. So Asura Breaker wants as much crit rate as possible, up to a maximum of 119%. To get this amount, of course, we go to full spec on crits together with a pet, and as well we sometimes want to use some keen sense. So you have the maximum efficiency of Blunt Thorn. We want to reach a maximum of 119% crit rate. To double check this, of course, open up your character, click on details, click on full effect info, click on attack, and you will see yourself your crit rate right here. Then on top of this crit rate, add yourself your engraving on top of that. So for example, for me, I will end up at 150% crit rate. But what happens if you're playing with a crit synergy? You have too much crit. What you can then do is go ahead and move 2 points from keen sense over to limit break, of course, as much as you need to. So I, of course, have a little bit more crit maybe than other people. So maybe you only need to move 1 point, or you don't even move points at all because you're still not going to be capped. So moving keen sense from the left to the right is literally based on how much crit that you have on your character. Besides that, we're going to take strike as well for some extra front attack damage, and of course Blunt Thorn maximum. Keep in mind that if you do not have level 2 Blunt Thorn, it's actually not even that great to use it. I would just use Stunning Striker level 1 instead until you have level 2 Blunt Thorn. Quick here before moving on, of course, what kind of stats do we want on side of our gear, because we have our elixirs as well. So we're going to go for the critical set together with boss damage on the shoulders and crit damage on the pants. The best stats for accessories are actually a little bit easy. You're going to be outgoing damage for the necklace, which is going to be your best stat. Your best stat for earrings, either is going to be weapon power or attack power, both doesn't really matter. And then the last stat, which will be your rings, is a little bit up to your build. So you can actually go for max crit rate rings, but if you do not actually need more crits, you can opt for max crit damage rings instead. Both are totally fine. And of course, your bracelet, you want swift and crit on there as well. Let's quickly move on over to the Enlightment tree. This one, of course, is going to be very simple. You want to max out Asura's path as much as possible. Trance is going to be your best tier 4 node, so you're not going to spec into some side nodes, but of course, All Out War is your best secondary node for 2 levels as well. Leap is a little bit interesting because we got ourselves the brand new Leap tree rework for the second skill, the Heavenly King's Wild Dance, which now gives us 32 Asura power if we hit it on the boss, which is actually kind of crazy. But this sadly only scales with how many points you have. You can see it's only 8, 20, 32. So I would say if you do not have 2 points in Leap, it's actually not worth using this T-skill. Sadly, you don't really have any other choices, but I would then just go over for Honest Attack level 1 instead until you get level 2 in Heavenly King's Dance. If you have shorter fights, you can opt on taking release potential inside of Transcendent Power instead, so you're going to do more Hyper Awakening damage. But sadly, the Hyper Awakening of Breaker actually does hardly any damage at all, so I would just recommend going as much T-skill cooldown as possible because it's going to mean more Asura punches. Going into the Engravings real quick, we have this Adrenaline, Master Brawler, Keemland Weapon, and Grudge. I should go Raid Captain right here, but I do not have a Relic version, and my Stabby status is Relic, and which will give me 1% more damage instead, so that's why I'm running Stabby status, but you should be running Raid Captain here if you have no books at all. Cards, of course, are based on your encounter, and gems we're going to talk about in just a little bit once we have covered the build. So I'm now going to show you guys the basic standard setup for most Asura Breakers together with your runes and your tripods. So we're going to start off with Brawl King's Advance with a quick recharge right tripod, 3, 1, 2. Creator Strike with Conviction, 2, 1, 1. Falling Star with 3, 2, 2 with a Gale Wind. We have Eye of the Storm with 3, 2, 2 with a Purple Gale Wind. We have Haymaker with 1, 2 with... I personally use a Purple Gale Wind. You can use a Poison Rune here as well. I love actually the extra animation speed, so it's up to you which one you want to use. Then we have Spiral Cut, which has yourself Judgment with 1, 3, 1. Explosive Fist with 1, 3, 1 with a Gale Wind, and Zephyr Nova for a 1, 1, 1 with quick recharge. Up next, we're going to have ourselves, of course, our gems. So which ones are we going to use? The most important one, in my opinion, is your Asura damage gem. So you can either go ahead and go with a level 10 tier 3 gem because it actually has that much of a big portion of the damage, or of course you can opt for a level 9 Doomfire if you have the money for that. Besides that, you can go for the Eye of the Storm damage plus cooldown gem. This is going to be the skill right here. This does a ton of damage in raids as well, so it's definitely worth having a big gem on that. And then the other one, the last one, which one's the most important for cooldown in my opinion, it's going to be Brawl King's Advance on a level 8 cooldown as well. So you can see the rest of them, I personally only have on level 6s because I do not really need more. And I do a ton of damage still with just 4 of these gems right here. So it's kind of a budget setup if you really want to run this. Quickly going over all the gems. So Broken Defense only has a cooldown. Falling Star both has damage and cooldown. Spiral Uppercut has damage and cooldown. Explosive Fist damage and cooldown. Zephyr Nova only has damage. Eye of the Storm damage plus cooldown. And then Asura Gem has the damage gem. And last but not least, we have ourselves the Heavenly King's War Dance for the T-skill. And the ultimate will be the Butterfly Sting. Okay, so how does Breaker work? And let's go into its rotation as well. So simply, guys, this is what you want. You want Asura mode. This is going to make you do punches. You're going to be able to punch with pressing your left or your right click, whatever you have auto attack bound to. And if you're doing your mode, you have to spam click, because without spam clicking, you're actually doing less damage. Okay, so now we're out of Asura mode. How do you gain gauge? You're going to alternate yellow with green or yellow with a blue skill. So you can see right here, yellow into green is going to give me modes. Yellow into green, yellow into blue. It's all giving me modes. As well, we have our T skill right here. If this hits on the boss, it actually will give us mode as well. Boom, as you can see right here, it gives us a big chunk. Keep in mind though, if I'm using my T-skill, but I'm actually not hitting the boss, I am not going to be getting gauge. So if you see right here, T-skill is not hitting the boss, I do not gain gauge. So make sure that this T-skill at least touches the boss for 1 millisecond, because otherwise you're not getting your gauge back, which is very annoying. One final really cool thing, of course, is that your awakening, which is not really that strong, it gives you back your full Asura gauge. So you can do some crazy combos with doing like back-to-back Asura mode, or Asura mode into T-skill, building up a full mode, into awakening to build up another full mode, and it's going to be doing 3 in like a short while as well. So the last thing that you need to know to keep up your Asura meter, of course, is that you want to have your adrenaline always max stacked, because this is very important for your damage. So this adrenaline should always be on 6, so punch midair, keep on going. And of course, because you can always gain meter while just not hitting the boss, you can always make sure that your adrenaline is max stacked before you go back in and do a ton of punches on the boss. So before we go into the rotation, I have one more last thing, which is going to be the bread and butter of Breaker and why it's so good. It's not your speculation buff, which gives you movement speed, which allows us to use Raid Captain. No, it's going to be the X skill. So if I summon right now a little mob right here, you can see we have ourselves a button on our X skill. This actually doesn't show inside the game anywhere. But if I'm going to use myself, my X skill, you can see I'm getting knocked down. If I use X skill, I'm actually immune to all CC. I get a damage shield as well, of course, for the duration is that it's up, which is very, 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 very good. You can see as well, of course, your cooldown on the side of your character. It doesn't prevent earthquakes, sadly, but all the other stuff, you can see I'm not getting knocked down, which is very, very good. And one last nice thing about the X skill, it does count as an adrenaline usage. So if you want to make sure that your adrenaline is high and mighty once you're pushing and punching your boss, you can go ahead and press the X skill while you're punching as well, which is very nice. Okay, let's go into a little example rotation. Because there's technically no real rotation inside the game, it's just going to be some priorities. So the priorities of cooldowns is going to be your Heavenly King Dance should all be on cooldown always. Your punch for Eye of the Storm should always be on cooldown, and then in my opinion Explosive Fist for damage wise is then after that. But these are actually not your priority 100%, because there's some more important cooldowns, which will be the Broking's Advance and as well the second stack of Spiral Uppercut. So you always want Spiral Uppercuts to be not maxed out. It always needs to be ticking like this. If you've done those two, then you can focus, in my opinion, on the T skill and on the big Eye of the Storm punch or anything else like the Explosive Fist, because getting these cooldowns down is just so important to get as much gauge as possible, because the gauge is going to be the biggest part of your damage on Breaker. Okay, let's finally get into a little rotation. So before you start the fight, make sure you have 6 stacks of adrenaline, and then it's time to go ahead and start punching. So we're going to start punching right now, and we're going to immediately after that go into a nice little T skill with the R ability, and then we're going to focus on getting as much gauge down as possible. We're going to, of course, run into some situations where we're not going to have our cooldown to press, which is totally fine, of course. You can always hit the boss, you can hit not the boss, but we want to get this Asura mode. Okay, we got Asura mode again, and now, of course, after this, we're going to use our yellow punch right now. Boom. And sadly didn't crit, and then we're going to use our Butterfly Sting to get another mode. We want to get the big Eye of the Storm punch always on cooldown, so if it's there, and even if you have a mode, please use it before the mode. I'm still sometimes guilty of this as well for not using it correctly, but that's kind of how you do Breaker. And now we're just literally in the end zone, and we are just waiting to get some more gauge. And there we go, we have another mode, and boom, we can go ahead and continue this the whole time. And there we go. There we have it, guys. That is going to be my mini class guide for Asura Breaker. Let me know if you guys missed anything, because of course this is my first time making a mini class guide. As well, let me know which class I should do next. I will only cover things I have in my roster, so I'm not going to go like Reaper because I'm not playing it, for example. There we have it, guys. Good luck with your Breaker adventures. I do like the class. He's quite tricky, so he's not for people that just want to lay back and just like, you know, I'm just hitting the boss. I'm not looking at it really. Like you really have to know what you're doing with this one. If you guys did enjoy, I would highly appreciate a like down below, guys. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon for another video. Take care.